Hello and welcome to our English News edition. These are the headlines. Algeria got elected on Vienna as a member of the Board of Governors of the General Congress of the International Atomic Energy Agency for the period 2023-2025. And as part of Algeria's policy to reinforce its cooperation with the continent, the Algerian-Ugandan Business Council kicked off in the Ugandan capital. And we dedicated a special section for tourism in our edition, where we highlighted the major facilitations taken to attract tourists and promote the different destinations. A medical intervention was carried out by the National Center for Sea Surveillance and Rescue in Usaganem to save the life of a Turkish seaman. As mentioned in the headlines, Algeria got elected on Saturday in Vienna unanimously in the 67th session of the General Congress of the International Atomic Energy Agency to be a member of the Board of Governors of the agency for the period 2023-2025. An election supported by the group of permanent African delegates of international organizations in Vienna. This follows on the dynamic development of Algerian diplomacy under the aegis of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, and the return to the international scene with being elected as a member of the Human Rights Council and a non-permanent member of the Security Council. In a speech following the election, Algeria's permanent representative in Vienna reiterated Algeria's total commitment to represent Africa in coordination with the other representative members of the continent. Let's have a listen.
Algeria stressed the need to continue to enhance the remarkable contribution of nuclear technologies in the fields of health, agriculture, water resources and environment. Algeria also reaffirms its commitment to the program of the African and Regional Cooperative Agreement for Research, Development and Training in the field of nuclear sciences and technologies.
The Algerian-Ugandan Business Council held its first session on Saturday in Uganda. The installation of this council took place on the sidelines of the Algerian-Ugandan Trade and Investment Forum, which began on Saturday under the theme of the opportunities of the African Continental Free Trade Area for strengthening bilateral trade relations between Algeria and Uganda as an embodiment of the willingness of both countries' leaders. The forum witnessed the participation of no less than 50 representatives of Algerian companies as well as businessmen from both countries. The Minister of Communication, Mohamed Al-Agab, installed on Saturday in Algiers the members of the jury of the 9th Ward of the President of the Republic's Professional Journalist Award, devoted this year to the themes New Algeria and the issue of food and water security, New Algeria strengthening youth capacities and creativity, as well as energy security and its geopolitical dimensions. Reinforce human resources training in the tourism sector is one of the main goals of the 22nd edition of the International Tourism and Travel Fair. Firia Sheikh inquired about the major issues that might hinder the process in this report taken up by Rani Al-Bahri.
During the past years, a new dynamic has been injected into the strategic sector of tourism. A considerable progress has been made, a progress which included the different departments of the sector, namely human resources training.
Pour un pays comme l'Algérie, qui fait partie des top.
For a country such as Algeria, belonging to the top 20 most beautiful countries in the world and among the 9 largest countries and the largest country in Africa, tourism is universal and represents the engine of the globe. Experts and specialists in the tourism sector deplore the lack of training schools and institutes. For those interviewed, the number of training institutes do not meet the needs of the market. Today we shall give more importance to human training, for it is a valuable investment, not only in the tourism institutions, but also in those relating to sports, environment, culture, and so on.
Dans un pays continent,
We live in a continental country, so our mindset should be up to the international standards, and to reach the international level, there ought to be training centers, a gap that has been filled in the recent years via the setting up and creation of training centers. One of the main objectives of the training centers is to include travel agencies in the tourism sector, and most importantly, boost and promote local tourism. Human resource training is considered as a strong asset for the eventual boosting of the tourism sector in Algeria.
Still, with tourism sector considered among the vital factors for the national economy's revival, and for that we're shedding the light today on all its aspects, from the decisions and facilitations taken to what's still lacking. More details with Rania Al-Bahri.
The wish of tourism professionals is in the way to become a national strategy. This sector has benefited in recent years from particular attention from the state. Several efforts are being made to revive this sector. We hope that all operators can play with the text of the new investment law. We have dozens of projects validated by the National Investment Agency. The same thing for tourist land as well as tourist areas. Tourist extension, which has 249 zones and 77 approved plan and more than 1,400 land base dedicated to tourism sector. We hope that operators invest in force. We have facilitated the procedure for obtaining visas for those adapted to Saharan tourism. We have established the visa on arrival delivered at the airport. This procedure, which has been operational for a year in Janet, will be generalized for the level of 5 new destinations for the year 2023-2024, namely Gardaya, Ilizi, Tamras, Timimoun and Bni Abbas, to develop Saharan tourism in Algeria. The organizers of this 22nd edition of CTF Fair were careful to promote tourist products in the foreign media. I would like to thank the Algerian Ministry of Tourism for its invitation to CTF Fair, which represents an opportunity for the promotion of tourism in Algeria to shed light on tourist potential of this country. Raise Algerian tourism to a competitive level to guarantee it a place in the international tourism market. Chinese and French operators demonstrate their interests. I have a travel agency in Lyon in France, and my main clients are Asians, and they choose Algeria as their favorite destination. Tourists now can rely on a trained and supervised professional Algerian guides during their stay. A good guide is the image and the ambassador of Algeria. The large country in Africa, Algeria offers tourists diversity all around the year, and this can place our country as a leading tourist destination.
And we wrap up our section dedicated to tourism with this environmental move of seabed cleaning, an operation carried out by Recife Association and which aims to raise awareness about the bad effects of pollution while promoting Algeria's coast. Reported by Raouf Hamouche, taken up by Manal Afa.
Today's child will be tomorrow's eco-citizen. Bearing this slogan, the Recife Association, at the initiative of the Algerian radio, kicked off this cleaning operation with an aim to instill in children the respect for the environment and introduce them to the recycling culture at an early age. We have collected plastic bottles for recycling. It is our duty to preserve our environment. For their part, the Recife Club divers were accompanied during this operation for the first time ever by naval divers. Their mission is to clean up the harbour's seabed, where several types of macro waste will be collected, then processed. As it is the World Maritime Day, we are here to raise awareness and help keep our environment clean. An average of 229,000 tons of plastic waste are dumped into the Mediterranean every year, thus classifying it as one of the most polluted seas. Thanks to the national radio, this cleanup and awareness-raising operation attracted thousands of volunteers. The Algerian radio, particularly La Chaîne 3, backs these kinds of interesting operations. This one is also being organized in 14 other cities, which is highly important for our coastal ecosystem. On the occasion of the World Maritime Day, a national harbour cleaning campaign was organised by La Chaîne Trois in 14 coastal cities, a large-scale operation that witnessed the participation of hundreds of volunteers as well as workers from several national radio channels. The Fishing and Leisure Ports Management Company, the Recife Association and the Babzouar University are working together to monitor all the floating waste in quest of initiating the recovery and recycling process. After a half-an-hour dive, we meet up our divers again, and it is a bittersweet feeling to see that there are dozens of used tires, hundreds of plastic bags, as well as other types of solid waste. Nothing gets thrown out, everything is recycled. The plastic bottles, for example, will be recycled to become toys donated for children suffering from cancer.
On Friday, the National Center for Sea Surveillance and Rescue in Staganem, in the 2nd Military Region, received a distress signal at 4:30 p.m. from the mission ship with the flag of the state of Barbados following the injury of one of its crew members, a Turkish man suffering from serious fractures after falling on board of the ship, a fall that got him in a critical condition. The center has immediately carried out a medical evacuation, dispatching an LS-12 search and rescue helicopter to evacuate the victim to Staganem's University Hospital, where he received the necessary medical treatment. This operation is part of the humanitarian missions of saving lives at sea and reflects the efforts made by the Coast Guard units of naval forces command to intervene and provide assistance at sea in all circumstances. Let's end our edition with this hunting operation that took place in Wuld bin Abdel Qadir in Shif province, a hunting meant to regulate wildlife and protect plants. Yasin Hamdi explains.
In the heart of this forest located under the dam of Sidi Yaqub in Shlef, the hunters of Wuld bin Abdel Qadir meet and elaborate their hunting plans in order to regulate wildlife and preserve biodiversity in this forest. We organize day and night patrols in collaboration with forest authorities and the National Gendarmerie. We learn this practice from our elders. The Regional Federation of Hunters was the first support to the forest sector, especially in managing damage caused by wild boars. The province of Shlef has 35 touristic circuits and comes in the first position at the national level. The new green touristic route has been launched recently. Armed and determined, the teams of hunters are heading to the heart of the forest to hunt the white boar. Suddenly, a whistle breaks the silence. Something was found. We love our nature and we want to protect it. We hunt different animals such as hares and wolves. We learned hunting since a very young age, then we followed specific trainings. We are equipped and armed and we frequently hunt in this forest. For these hunters devoted to the safety and the preservation of this forest, hunting is more than a passion. It's a devotion towards the preservation of this precious ecosystem.
Alright, that was it for today's edition. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow.